In startups, mental whiplash is not a myth. Let me explain why from a psychologist's perspective. Now, mental whiplash is essentially the phenomena that many entrepreneurs feel or founders feel where they are bombarded with advice from high caliber individuals, which leads them in an entirely confused, messy state. Mental whiplash stems from two pieces of psychology. The first is called cognitive overload. When you are provided with high volumes of information which is pertinent to an emotionally important topic, your brain will unconsciously try and reorganize the information into stories. And that is a very demanding mental task. The second psychology which applies to mental whiplash is known as authority bias. Authority bias says when you feel you are not the authority in a conversation, you will put significantly more weight into somebody else's judgment than your own. Now, there are ways to combat this. The most important thing you can do is to write your questions that you want answered before you go into that conversation with a potential mentor or authority figure. And your questions should be very clear. And it's important that you ask the person to tell you what perspective they are answering from. And the two primary perspectives are personal experience, so things that they've done, or some kind of academic or experimental rigor. So they can recall information that either they did or somebody else did, but was robust in its defense. And then at the very end, you ask one final question, which is this: what do you feel I do not know, and I would never know without you telling me, that could be important to my startup success? The second thing is to do something called a synthesis. Is you take your notes at the end of the day or the end of a session, when you've had multiple opinions on roughly the same topic, you then condense down for commonalities. Now, just because it's said more often than not, and just because it's common across authority figures, does not make it correct. I just want to be absolutely clear. But what you do is you synthesize down to the commonalities, and then you do desk research as to why those commonalities are common. And it's that desk research that you really want to listen to. The last one is do not make any decisions on the day they had those meetings and conversations. Well, one of the reasons you sleep, and importantly, one of the reasons you dream, is to reorganize and to sort information into stories in your head. If you sleep on any major decision, a lot of the cognitive work required to form those stories has then been done, which means you can make decisions with fresh minds. I think it's glycogen, I think it's the source in the brain, which your brain needs to essentially fuel its higher brain functions, and you'll have more of it when you wake up because it's done the cognitive load of creating stories. Those are my views on mental whiplash and how you might be able to overcome them from a psychologist's point of view.